Hey, this is C&D Channel. I'm Chris. This is MMA for you. I'm going to be doing my Bellator 101 predictions, which happens on September 27th. Overall, as far as the card goes, it's alright. You are getting some interesting tests here because you're getting a lot of like Bellator prospect versus UFC veteran. You know, Marcus Davis versus Sarnavskiy, Will Brooks, John Alessio. You know, even in some ways, Saad Awad versus Martin Stapleton. I mean, Stapes, he fought in Ultimate Fighter 9, but never actually fought in the UFC. Ricardo Tirloni versus Rich Clementi, all like UFC guy versus, Bellator prospect. The undercard, you got guys like Joe Pacheco, Marcin Howard's in there, Nathan Coy, some guys from Sports Lab, from like Brent Premise and Austin Springer are in there. A lot of guys from Sports Lab are actually fighting on this card. Ryan Healy, Jeremiah Riggs. Like a lot of guys train there too. Dave Jansen, Ryan Healy, Mike Pierce. They're all like Sports Lab guys. And a lot of those guys are fighting on this card, especially on the undercard. It definitely could be a very interesting night of fights. It's really hard to say with Bellator. Interesting tests though, for sure. Let's get started. We got Nick Kirk versus Joe Warren. Well, Nick Kirk has a 10-2 record with 1 TKO and 3 subs. He's 30 years old. Trains at the academy. Guys like Mike the Marine Richmond train there. I believe Rose Namajunas trains there as well. I think Pat Barry trains there, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not 100% sure. Joe Warren, though, Rhino Sports, Team Quest, he has an 8-3 record. He's a former Bellator featherweight champion. Lost it to Pat Curran. 2 wins by KO TKO, 6 wins by decision. He also has 2 losses by KO TKO. He's 36 years old. Olympic level Greco-Roman wrestling, super strong in the clinch. When he gets you down, he's good at top control. His ground and pound's not too bad. His biggest problem, always, his stand-up defense is terrible. I mean, just horrid. This guy was getting beat up by Joe Soto before he came back to knock him out. Pitbull was lighting him up. Patricia Pitbull. Alexis Vila was beating him. I knocked him out cold. One of the coolest knockouts I've ever seen. Pat Curran that was one of the worst beatings I've ever seen a guy take. So, Joe Warren, his stand-up defense, he's got a relatively good chin per se, but man, this guy just gets hit clean all the time. His submission defense isn't actually that great either. This guy, Karakhanyan, when he fought, Karakhanyan, he'd get, submissions at the bottom, and his idea of, getting out of them or just, muscling out of them. Despite that, despite Joe Warren's defensive flaws, I think he still wins it. I think he'll be able to get the clinch. I think he'll be able to get the takedowns, stay in top control, and pretty much be a Joe Warren fight. He'll stay busy on the ground and win the rounds. So I'll go Joe Warren to win this one. Okay, next fight after that, we have Alexander Tiger Sarnavskiy versus Marcus the Irish Hand Grenade Davis. I gotta say, I was really impressed with Sarnavskiy's fight against, I believe it was Thiago Michel. Because Thiago Michel is actually a kickboxer, and a very well-known kickboxer, and Sarnavskiy was out-striking the guy, out-kickboxing the kickboxer. With Sarnavskiy has a 23-1 record, 6 wins by KO TKO, 13 wins by sub, 24 years old, on a 3-fight win streak, and he trains out of Rust Fighters. He's also training out of Rain, too. He has really good knees in his kickboxing arsenal. His Brazilian jiu-jitsu skills aren't bad either. Despite actually, he got his back taken a lot by Rich Clementi. But Clementi, to his credit, is really tricky on the ground. Marcus Davis, UFC veteran, he's one thing to note, 40 years old. 3 of his losses are by KO or TKO and 2 losses by sub. Some of them are some pretty bad knockouts too. The Ben Saunders one, the Jamie Stevens one. I mean, he gets knocked out cold now, And then when he got subbed by Nate Diaz, he was out cold there. He trains at Team Sityo. He's a good boxer and a good counterpuncher with underrated grappling. My thing is, I really like the Irish hand grenade. I do feel his chin is deteriorating, and at 40, the guy has a lot of fights. 22-9 record with 1 no contest, and that doesn't include any boxing fights he's had and whatnot. So the guy has definitely been through the grinder because of the age difference. You're talking about a 16-year age difference against a guy who is a strong kickboxer in his own right. This is part of the lightweight tournament opening round, and actually the Nick Kirk versus Joe Warren fight was for the bantamweight tournament semifinal. But as far as this fight, I gotta go Tiger Sarnavskiy. I think at this point he might be the better kickboxer, more proven chin. Just gotta go with the youth here. Okay, next fight after that, John Alessio fights Will Brooks. It's a lightweight tournament opening round fight. Tough fight for Will Brooks. I'm a big fan of this guy. I think he is a very good prospect. He did get knocked out by Saad Awad. So not a bad prospect in his own right. But with Will Brooks, 10-1 record, 4 wins by KO TKO, 4 wins by sub, 26 years old. He's a good wrestler, strong ground and pound, and stand-up is improving as well. A really physical guy, good athlete. John Alessio has been around the block. UFC veteran, 34-16 record with 1 no contest. He trains at Syndicate MMA. A lot of guys are training there now. I know King Mo used to train there. Vinny Magalash trains there. I believe Roy Nelson trains there now. So a lot of guys are training out of Syndicate these days. The thing with Alessio too, this guy, he's a good boxer. He uses his jab really well, and he's always had solid takedown defense. This is actually a really tough test for Will Brooks. I'm really high on the guy though. I think he's he's a really good athlete. I think despite Alessio does have good takedown defense, it's not impenetrable. Shane Roller kept taking him down. I think Bocek won his fight against Alessio by taking him down a lot. I think that despite John Alessio, like I said, he does have good takedown defense, but it's not like he doesn't get taken down. I think Will Brooks will be able to take the fight to the ground. And the stand-up, though, I kind of have to favor Alessio here in a sense. Will Brooks' stand-up is definitely improving, but Alessio's pretty proven, in the stand-up department. This one's a close fight. I'm a little tempted actually to go with Alessio, but I'll go with Will Brooks here. I think he's a good prospect, like I said. Really athletic guy, really physical guy, good wrestler, improving after every fight. So, yeah, I'll go with Will Brooks to win that one. And next fight after that, we have Martin Stapleton versus Saad Awad. Well, Stapleton, 12-1 record, only lost by triangle choke to Paul Sass. He has 4 wins by KO TKO, 3 wins by sub, and he's on a 8-fight win streak. He is a Ultimate Fighter 9 veteran. Actually, that was the one that was Michael Bisping versus I think that was where Bisping and Dan Henderson were coaching, if I'm not mistaken. This guy was Stapes. I didn't realize it until now. I was like, dang, I sure remember this guy from somewhere. I was like, oh yeah, Martin Stapleton. It's Stapes from Ultimate Fighter 9. Yeah, he's got some good cardio. I believe he owns his own like strength and conditioning gym or something like that. He's a good kickboxer, good knees, a solid fighter. Saad Awad, 14-5 record, 6 wins by KO TKO, 6 wins by sub. He also has 2 losses by KO TKO and 2 losses by sub. Training out of Millennia MMA. Lorenz Larkin trains out of there. He's good, he has some good stand-up, heavy-handed guy. He knocked out Guillermo Del Lorenzi and Will Brooks. And then he got knocked out by David Rickles. So it's tough to call because I don't know if Stapes could also take it to the ground too. Then his ground game isn't too bad as well. But Saad Awad's a bit more proven at this point. Looking at Stapleton's record, he fought a lot of guys in the UK. The best guy he's fought is Paul Sass. Saad Awad, though, he's been fighting a little, especially in Bellator. He's been fighting some better competition as of late, showing some heavy hands. I gotta go with Saad Awad to win this one. Okay, next fight I thought. This one's actually really tough for me to call, actually, because we got Ricardo Tirloni versus Rich Clementi. The reason why this one's tough for me to call is, I just feel that Tirloni can be a bit hot and cold, sometimes. That's the thing. He looked good against, like, Dave Jansen, for example, though. He beat, Nazare, if I'm not mistaken, choked him out. But one of the things I'm concerned about Tirloni is he only won 1 of his last 4 fights. He's on a 2-fight losing streak right now, actually. He lost to Rick Hahn and Dave Jansen. In a fight I thought he won. Rich Clementi though, 45 wins, 22 losses, 1 draw, 9 wins by KO TKO, 27 wins by sub. Also has 4 losses by KO TKO and 9 losses by sub. 37 years old, but he's a really crafty grappler, UFC veteran, good wrestler as well. When he's on the ground, he's always looking for stuff and whatnot. Really crafty submissions, However, Ricardo Tirloni is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. So stylistically, I don't think, despite Clementi's craftiness on the ground, Tirloni is very good on the ground himself. And he does have some pretty solid Muay Thai. He will brawl every once in a while. But yeah, like I said, my concerns with Tirloni, 2-fight losing streak, and he's only won 1 of his last 4. With Rich Clementi, he lost to Marcin Howard in his last fight and actually declared retirement. So, mentally, you gotta wonder if that's in his head or not. I'm going to go with Ricardo Tirloni here, and if you saw a pattern here, I'm actually going to pick the Bellator prospect over the UFC veteran in pretty much all of the fights here. It's really tough. It's tough to call, though, because whenever you have prospect versus veteran, it's really hard to say. Sometimes the prospect rises to the occasion, and other times, he falls flat, Actually, like Tiger Sarnavskiy, his only loss is to Rich Clementi, And that lightweight tournament, he was favored to win. So just never know how it's going to go. On to the prelims, you got Ryan Healy versus Marcin Held. Ryan Healy, man, he's been in the block for a while. 23-12 record with 1 draw. 12 wins by KO TKO, 6 wins by sub. He also has 3 losses by KO TKO. He's 30 years old. Training out of Sports Lab. Last time I saw him fight, he was getting beat up by Jesse Ronson, who's on the UFC. That's the thing with Healy. He can look good, but sometimes this guy gets beat up bad. I remember when he fought Kajon Johnson, and Kajon just kept taking his back. He's a real resilient guy, that's for sure. But sometimes I see the guy take some beatings, man. I or get pretty dominated a lot of times. Marcin Held, 15-3 record, 3 wins by KO, 8 wins by sub. He's 21 years old. He's got some really strong leg locks, good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's good off his back. His cardio needs some work though, because he's always working when he's on the ground, and he'll go for moves, but he'll like go for a leg lock, but if he misses it, he expended a lot of energy going for like said submission. Despite that, I got to go with Marcin Held to win this one. I think he can get the fight to the ground, get some good positions on Healy. I don't know if he'll get the sub per se, but he is really good on the ground. I expect him to get some good positions on him at the very least, and win, especially with his superior grappling. Okay, next right after that, we have Tyson Jeffries versus Joe Pacheco. Jeffries has a 10-7 record with 1 win by KO, 8 wins by sub. Also has 2 losses by KO and 4 losses by sub, training at a Team Quest. Joe Pacheco, 6-0, undefeated record. He has his last 2 fights were in Bellator and he won them. Actually, if I'm not mistaken. 1 win by KO, 4 wins by sub, 28 years old. Good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, actually. I'll go with the undefeated Joe Pacheco to win this one. Okay, next right after that, Nathan Coy fights Andy Urick. I hope I pronounced his last name right. Oh, Andy has an 8-3 record with 4 wins by KO, 2 wins by sub, 2 losses by sub, but he's also on a 2-fight win streak. Nathan Coy, though, 12-4 record, 3 wins by KO, 4 wins by sub, 35 years old. He's on a 4-fight win streak, training out of ATT. Really strong wrestler. If you ever watch us fight in MFC against Diego Lima, the guy was just relentless about getting takedowns. He has really good top control. He's good in the clinch too. Watch his fights and strike. Watch him against Tyron Woodley. A lot of people arguably thought that he beat Tyron Woodley. He's a good wrestler. And he also beat Ryan McGillivray, if I'm not mistaken. And is it Ryan? I think it's Ryan McGillivray and MFC as well. So he's been racking up some good wins in that win streak as well. I gotta go with Nathan Coy to win this one. And next right after that, we have Peter Aspinwall versus Jeremiah Mississippi Riggs. Mississippi, he tried out for Tough Enough, actually, in the WWE, and he was also in the season, I think it was the Rampage Forest season, if I'm not mistaken, of The Ultimate Fighter. I'm pretty sure he was in that season. Riggs, 7-7 record, 1 win by TKO, 3 wins by sub. He also has 5 losses by sub. He's 30 years old, on a 2-fight losing streak, training at a sports lab. Peter Aspinwall, though, 2-4 record, .500 fighter at this point. 2 wins by sub, 3 losses by KO or TKO, and 1 loss by sub. So this guy, no decisions. He's never been past the second round. He's on a 2-fight losing streak as well. I'll go with Mississippi, Jeremiah Riggs to win this one. And next right after that, Brent Primus fights Scott Tickle fight Thumetz. Thumetz has a 6-2 record with 1 win by TKO, 4 wins by sub. Brent Primus, 2-0 undefeated record with both wins being by submission. He's never been past the first round. Training at a sports lab. I'll go with Brent Primus to win this one. And finally, Brent Alvarez fights Austin Springer. Brent Alvarez has a 1-1 record. He has one win by sub. His loss is 1 submission by strikes. Austin Springer, 3-0 undefeated record. 2 wins by TKO, 1 win by decision. Also training at a sports lab. I'll go with Austin Springer to win this one. Okay, to recap, on the main card, I have Joe Warren over Nick Kirk, Alexander Tiger Sarnavskiy beating Marcus the Irish Hand Grenade Davis, Will Brooks over John Alessio, Saad Awad beating Martin Stapleton, And Ricardo Tirloni beating Rich Clementi. On the prelims, I got Marcin Howard over Ryan Healy, Joe Pacheco over Tyson Jeffries, Nathan Coy beating Andy Ubricht, Jeremiah Mississippi Riggs beating Peter Aspinwall, Brent Primus over Scott Ticklefight Thumetz, and Austin Springer beating Brent Alvarez. So that's it for my predictions for Bellator 101. If you have any comments, just leave them below. That's it for MMA for you. Thank you guys very much.